welcome to my next episode of my podcast. I am churning these things out as if I am suffering from some kind of, how would you call it, shooting disease. I'm just churning them out as best as I can. I'm going back to my roots. Not that people criticized me. You would have noticed that the last two guests are from the Black community, and I've got someone else again from the Black community. So look, I am, I'm increasing the quota for my podcast to 100% for Black people, because quite a number of comics and people, my guests, are from the white community, and there's nothing wrong in that. But there's so much I want to give this platform, a voice, voices from all over the world, and I am not going to waste any time on this. I'm going to say thank you to every single one of you who have continued to download my podcast in 25 countries right now, 25 countries, 4 dictatorship regimes, and the others are democratic nations. But it's okay. I am looking forward to other dictatorship regimes. It gives me great pleasure to introduce this man to you. Before I even introduce him, I'm going to tell you, and he may not remember because he's getting quite old now, so maybe Alzheimer's might have set in. Mr. C comedian, I met him many, many years ago. We're talking probably 12 years ago, before I became a military president. I was a civilian president. I did 5 minutes. I didn't know what I was doing in a place called The Hyde I think it's in Streatham. It's a Black comedy scene. And geez, I have to say to you, that day, I died miserably, died in front of my people. I literally died. And I knew I died because after I left the stage, I saw Mr. C, and Mr. C didn't even acknowledge me. And that's how you know, as a comedian, you have actually died. And to be fair, I'm not the sort of person who will say, oh, I blame it on the other acts. The other 2 acts, I can't remember the names. They killed, they smashed it. They really smashed it. But come on, I was just being unfair to myself. It was the first, probably my second or third gig. And someone said, go and try that. I think it's called the Hideout. I can't remember whether it's the Hideout.
Hideaway.
Yeah, Hideaway. And damn, I died in front of my people. I have to say, it's probably why I crossed over to the mainstream circuit, because I just thought, Black people don't find me funny. But anyway, they do. They honestly do. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Mr. C. I have asked my people to actually do some research, so I'm hoping that this CV is up to date. Cool, charming, conscious. Mr. C is fast becoming one of the new comedians. Anyway, I know that is absolutely wrong, because he's not a new comedian. He's been around for quite a while. To watch out for on this circus of fun. Mr. C has performed at various venues such as Hackney Empire, the Comedy Store, Junglers, and has also supported Rudy Liku, Ginny Yashere, Curtis Walker, Angeli Ma, the late Felix Dexter on their UK tours. His comedy achievements ranges from doing warm-up shows for BBC One, Blouse and Skirt, to being voted to the best male newcomer at the prestigious Black Entertainment Comedy Award. Look, this is a very extensive, when I say extensive, and I've also noticed on his CV that he's actually entertained, and I am wearing a military uniform. He has entertained troops at US military bases in Germany, NATO headquarters in Belgium, hosting Hackney Empires. Look, the list is endless. And I know one of my people also said he's been involved in Big Nasty, the Big Nasty program, I believe, but he will correct me if that is wrong. But one of the things I like, sorry?
That is correct, yeah.
That's correct, okay. Yeah, good. So my
Big Nasty show.
Big
you
Nasty
have to
show.
be careful how you use English, president, because people saying that I'm involved with Big Nasty, they may think it's a relationship. But what it is, it's the Big Nasty show.
Yeah. Oh, you see, I don't care. Whatever swings your boat, Mr. C, whatever swings your boat. But there's one thing, every comic has a catchphrase, and I don't know whether he thinks this is a catchphrase, but one of the things that resonated with me when I first started comedy, and I saw him do this a lot, not necessarily on stage. I just think this is his unique, this is his own way of creating his comedy persona. He says, laughing at life, live, love, laugh. That I remember him saying that on a regular basis and on his post. And, you know, with all due respect, people say I introduce people for too long, you know, but this is my podcast. I do what I want, you know, I do what I want. But Mr. C, it is lovely to have you here. I know you are a very busy man, and but it is an honor. You know, Mr. C is the first person, let me tell you, the first person I arranged an appointment with him, and for one reason or another, I believe either I forgot or he forgot, and then I wrote to him and I said, "Why did you call me, man?" And I said, "Look, I am supposed to be a dictator." So, Mr. C, it's good to see you. How are you?
I'm good, my brother. And what an introduction, what a welcome. I feel absolutely honored, man. It's the warmest introduction I've ever received in my 22 years. So thank you, sir. Salute, man.
You know,
Absolute
a lot of you know, a lot of people comment about my introduction. So it's making me think that maybe I should just give up performing stand-up comedy and find a way of just introducing people on stage, you know, for fun. But thank you so much. But also, you compliment me on my introduction. I would say this, not because I'm patronizing you. I remember a gig that we did together in Luton. You might not remember.
Wow, yeah.
Wow, that introduction that you gave me on stage, no one, since I have been performing stand-up comedy for the past 11 years, no one, and I don't mean to offend anyone, has been able to introduce me the way you did. You see, when you introduced me that day, my head just, I felt like a real president. What the hell? How can you, you know, I didn't even have to do anything. People were laughing already by that introduction. So thank you so much. So what's been happening to you? How have you been coping? I see you've grown a beard. How have you been coping with the lockdown?
Yeah, man, my beard is growing. My beard is doing the opposite thing what my wallet is doing. My wallet is shrinking while my beard is growing. So, you know, either way, I might have less money, but I've got more beard. So I have to give thanks, man. It's a blessing.
Yeah. So are you aware of the roadmap in terms of what the government is planning?
Yeah, I've seen and I've heard the plans what Boris has made out for the country and for ourselves. I'm a little bit apprehensive because I've seen Boris move in one direction and then all of a sudden he's U-turned into a different direction. So, you know, I'll watch and see. I mean, common sense. I've already predicted that the numbers of coronavirus victims will decrease. And again, I'm sure that they will take full credit as regards to the vaccination, the success of the vaccination to those numbers being reduced. So hopefully that should be enough encouragement for them to say, okay, let's try and return to some kind of normality. However, I've got a feeling that once the numbers start increasing again coming the winter months, then Boris may have a change of heart and a change of plan again. So it's very, very difficult at the moment to kind of predict how the industry is going to move forward in this particular time and this particular moment. And it'd be interesting to see what happens in the latter half of the quarter of the year.
Yeah, I think you are absolutely right. I'm not saying the vaccination is not working, but I also feel, like you said, the change in weather, you know, all of a sudden it's become a bit bright. No more dark days. And all of a sudden, let's change the strategy. You know, I'm not in government, but that is my skeptic way of looking at it. Let's talk about the Black community in terms of vaccination, because I understand that there is a lot of reluctance from our people. And we know it's our people who have died the most. What's your view on vaccination? Have you been vaccinated yet?
No, I received a text message on Monday, to which I was going to reply, but I thought, you know, go and give the vaccine to your granny first wasn't appropriate, so I didn't reply. They can keep on sending me as many text messages as they want. I'm not having it. My mind is made up. It's not going to change, and that's it. That's the end of it for me.
Why are you not having it, Mr. C?
I'm a man who I like to do my own research for things, President. And since this whole thing has started, there's been a lack of decent information. There's been a lack of a balanced conversation as regards to the reasons why this thing is happening, where it's really from, who it's really affecting. There's from day one, there's been miscommunication and a lack of intelligent conversation as well. Mm-hmm. So for me, that says quite a few things. That rings up quite a few red flags for me. First red flag being is either this is pure hocus pocus or you don't know what you're doing. Either way, I don't feel comfortable with relying on you for information anymore. So I need to now go and source my own information. I've always had a problem with statistics and the way how statistics are shown, especially in the media. And never to trust those sources and always try to look further and deeper than what is shown to me, because I have a full understanding as a comedian of what misdirection is. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's why I think comedy and politics, we have a good relationship because we know how to misguide people so they don't see things what are coming, mm-hmm. like the punchline. Mm. Or in government, the punch. Mm. So, you know, I feel that there's more to this thing than what meets the eye. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of unanswered questions. And until we're having some proper discussions and some proper debate, then that vaccination is not for me. And just on the point of why I'm saying that is because when this whole thing started last year and, you know, it got really serious when we entered the first lockdown, I looked at the numbers. The numbers were that 0.02% were catching coronavirus, mm-hmm. were getting coronavirus or dying from coronavirus. I can't remember mm-hmm. which one. 0.02%. That around about 90 something percent of people who caught the virus recovered from it. Mm-hmm. And for me, it was like, there's no need to shut down the whole country for this. You know, there's deaths every year with flu and influenza. It doesn't make any common sense to me. The other thing as well, President, is that I said to myself, you know what? They've got the normal flu and they've got a vaccination for the normal flu, mm-hmm. for the average normal Joe Bloggs flu. Mm-hmm. You may as well call it the Tesco's no frills flu. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's not any special branded flu. It's just mm-hmm. a regular no frills flu, mm-hmm. and they've got a vaccination for that. Mm-hmm. But I know a lot of people have had that vaccination and they still get the flu. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking, if you can't create a normal vaccination that can get rid of bog standard flu, how are you now going to build a vaccination that deals with super bad flu? Mm-hmm. You know, we're talking about Marks and Spencer's flu. This is not just any other. This is not just any ordinary kind of flu. This is Marks and Spencer's flu. Yeah, this is the kind of flu that if it gets you, it can make you fly. You know what I mean?
That's
you
funny.
Fly away. If you catch
fly away
wrong.
Yeah.
So for me. Yeah, it's like it doesn't make any sense to me, President. Go on, sir.
Yeah, I respect your opinion. I'm in it's difficult, obviously, because we know the history as well in terms of vaccinations and the things that they've done to the Black community. And what really annoys me about Britain is, and it's happening now with the royal family, and that's a subject I want to talk to you about in terms of Meghan, is the mm-hmm. communication. You know, if you get it right the first time, then everybody will believe you. But when it's all disjointed, do you understand what I'm saying? It's just all over the place. I received a text, obviously, but they said they thought I was over 80. I know black don't crack, but they said over 80. And so I knew it wasn't. I knew it wasn't for me, but yeah, it is. It's an interesting one. Let's talk about the Meghan situation at the moment with Harry. And I don't know whether you have any views or whether you've caught up with the fact that there's a documentary coming up soon. The royal family, and the royal family are now accusing Meghan of bullying when she was in the palace. And I basically said, said to someone this morning that as far as I'm concerned, the royal family are actually providing us with evidence or making us believe what the rumors were about Harry and Diana many, many years ago by their actions. You know, what's your view? Do you think because they're saying Prince Philip has a bad heart and this is not the time to release a documentary? It looks like they're sweating, like Prince Andrew, really sweating. You know, I don't know what your view is on this, but, you know, I would say, you know, they're being racist. There's no two ways about it.
Me personally, well, look, is the royal family racist? I don't know, and I like to believe that I don't think they are. Prince Philip, most likely. The Queen, highly unlikely. Any of the other, you know, Prince Charles, definitely not racist. Princess Anne, I would say probably not, but she could have a tendency, but if she has, she'll put duty before her preference as regards to racism. But from the work that I've seen her do within community and youth work, I'd have to say no. If you hated Black people, you wouldn't be doing that kind of work. Even if it was a smoke screen, you wouldn't have been doing it for that long. You would have found an excuse to come out of it. So on the whole, I would say the royal family is not racist. However, they are like a lot of institutions in this country which are buried in old school and old fashioned ways. And I think that, yes, definitely Princess Diana was the first to challenge some of those ways. I think the outpour of the public love for Princess Diana kind of forced them to change one or two of those old fashioned ways as well, which probably the Queen, you know, you've got to remember she's the firstborn of a particular heir to the throne. And once you are the firstborn to the heir to the throne, as you would know, President, you're burdened with responsibility, which the other children do not have. So if we look at, say, the Queen, Elizabeth, once she knew that she was going to be heir to the throne, the rest of her siblings go on about their business and enjoy themselves. Princess Margaret must have grind out the whole of the Caribbean and everything. Yeah. And this is not me being loose with my words. It's a well-known fact. Princess Margaret love a Black man. She loved man. Yeah.
Love man.
Because she knew she was never going to be queen, so she could go and do what she wanted. You see what I mean? While Queen Elizabeth knows that she has to carry that burden of responsibility that one day she will put on that crown. You see what I mean? And if we look at the royal family, if we look at, say, Prince Charles, for example, you know, he had to carry that burden, not because he wanted to. He wanted to be, you know, when he was younger, he was out there with the 3 degrees and everything. But when it came to a certain age where they're thinking, oh, well, you know what, we don't know when the Queen's going to go. It's time for you to tidy up your... So what you need to do, you need to make sure now that you've got heirs to the throne. You see what I'm saying? So literally what happened was that he was now had this burden of responsibility where he's now got to find a wife who's pure, because she has to be a princess. He also now has to make sure that that pure princess bears him children which are legitimate. But now the rest of his siblings, you know, when was the last time anybody see Prince Edward, and what is Prince Edward up to? Nobody gives a damn.
Well, but they give a damn about Prince Andrew.
No, well, we didn't at the time. If we knew what Prince Andrew was doing, some of us would have stopped him. You know what I mean? Prince Andrews, it seemed like he tried to take over from youth services in the wrong way.
You know, the best analogy in terms of the pressure on the Queen is, even if you're not royal, you're the firstborn of any family is always under pressure. What I've never really understood is how William and Harry have just, you know, they're not unified. You know, they're just that disagreement.
Well, there you go. And that's a prime example, because what we had now was 2 brothers who were very tight and very, 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 you know, that's all they had was each other. After their mother died, that's all they had was each other. And you could see that they was inseparable with that. But what's happened now is that the Queen is reaching a very, very, how can I put it? The Queen's in her last 10 years. Let's be honest. You know, I doubt it very much if she's gonna live long. She may do, but I'm saying literally where she's at now, we're looking at another 10 years maximum for the Queen.
Well, Philip is still alive. Philip is going to do another 10 years.
No, it doesn't matter about Philip, because as soon as the Queen goes, Philip has no, he's not going to be king. He's got no role. You see what I'm saying? That's why he is Prince Philip. He's not King Philip, he's Prince Philip.
So Camilla will never be queen.
Camilla could never be queen because that's why she's a duchess, because she's not pure. You see what I mean? That's why people didn't understand why Fergie is a duchess and couldn't be a princess. It's because she's not pure. I mean, can we use adult language in this podcast?
Yeah, you can.
Are we
say right, whatever you say.
So this is what people don't understand. In order to be a princess for a royal, the pussy has to be pure.
So for someone like me who doesn't understand what that means, so that means a virgin, yeah?
Literally a virgin that no other man is supposed to run up in it. And again, if you've had children or been married before, then as far as they're concerned, the pussy is not pure, so you can't be a princess. You have to be a duchess.
Okay. So that's how they define. It's based on the pussy.
Right. Of course, that's why Camilla, even if the Queen died now and Prince Charles was to be king, she would never be Princess Camilla, because she had a previous marriage. I don't know if she's had children, but she's had a previous marriage, so it's not pure. Yeah, same as Fergie. She wasn't, it was Princess Diana, you got Princess Eugene, you got Princess blah, blah, blah. Even her children are princesses, but the mother is not a princess because it wasn't pure. She's the Duchess of whatever.
Wow.
So that's why, like Meghan, Meghan's a different category, but the point that I'm making is with Harry and William now, because Charles is reaching an age where Charles has already said, listen, I'm in a business about this, you know. There's a time when I was ready to be king, but that time's gone. I'm happy with my little side chick and everything, who's now, everybody knows this is my main chick. I've always loved this, but because of duty, I was willing to sacrifice my love, which is Camilla, for duty, which is Princess Diana.
So are you saying that you think Charles won't be king?
No, Charles will abdicate that. Charles will not be king because William now has the burden of responsibility, and now he's picking up those burdens and those other levels of prestige and pomp and all that other stuff, what goes with being a future king of England. And that's why now he has to distance himself from certain things, what his brother's doing, from what Harry's doing, what Harry's saying, because he cannot be king of England and be compromised in some of those things. You see what I mean? So he's now having to pick up these ways, and Harry's saying to him, you're moving like your dad, fam. Bro, do you remember how it was with mum? Why are you moving like that, fam? Harry's having these conversations with him.
Okay, let's move away from the royal family. I am interested to find out, because I got into comedy by accident. The way I discovered you and discovered Rudy Liquid was I didn't even know that there was a black scene. I just, literally just went on stage one day and boom, and I started gigging and I found black people. I didn't even know. I didn't know immediately, honestly. I didn't know immediately that there was a black comedy scene. I had no idea. I just, I didn't see any division. And then I heard about the comedy school, and, so it was quite an interesting journey for me to discover that there were that many, because I remember I used to do a lot of stuff on Facebook, and Ola, the comedian,
great comedian.
Because I had a different Facebook page at the time, and I wrote and I said, wouldn't it be good to see, because I used to watch American comedies, I said, wouldn't it be good to see black comics on TV? Wouldn't it be good to see them on stage? Because I wasn't even thinking of, and he wrote, it was very cryptic, he wrote, we are around, and I had no idea what he meant until
what he meant.
So it was like a hidden treasure. So part
Yeah.
of what I want to find out from you is, how did you get involved in comedy? Why comedy? And, your experience and what's happening with the Black scene. Obviously, the issues around the lockdown, but I do the mainstream circuit. I do a
Of
few,
course. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I do a few Black gigs, but it was a hidden treasure, hidden, enlightening treasure. But over to you.
Yeah. You know what? I have to laugh because I think that it is a hidden treasure, to be honest with you. And I'll explain to you why I'm laughing is because I had a similar experience as well. That my only reference to Black comedy when I was probably doing a 9 to 5 was Lenny Henry. Lenny Henry, Charlie Williams, one or two other people. And that was it. I had no idea that there was a Black comedy circuit. Even there was a vibrant one in my own area where I'm born and raised in Northwest London called Nubian Spotlight at the time. But I think I was in South London, so that's probably why I didn't know anything about it. So one of my school friends had actually set that up. So I used to watch a lot of American comedy. So I was watching BET, Comic View, of course, Def Comedy Jam. My first true love of stand-up was probably Richard Pryor. I've seen all the Eddie Murphys. And so I had a continuous relationship and love for Black American stand-up comedy. And then one day I went with work to a comedy. We used to go comedy clubs all the time and comedy shows, but we went to one, I can't remember where it was. And apart from the host who was all right, the comedians who were coming on were absolutely terrible. They were rubbish. And we was just heckling them because the banter in a working environment is heavy. And it was me, all of my Caucasian work friends, and one of my other Black workers was there. So it's just me and one other Black guy. And the rest of everybody was heckling. And then I stepped on stage, a face that was familiar to me. This was a face that I saw being introduced on a 291 club at Hackney Empire. And before the guy even managed to say anything, the crowd booed him off. And I remembered his face. And this guy was Rudy Liquid. And he came on stage. And obviously he'd been seeing what's happening with some of the other comics. And so I think one of my white work friends opened their mouth to say something to Rudy, and Rudy just annihilated him. Absolutely annihilated him. He sent that guy into witness protection. He could never leave that building with his name again because Rudy had destroyed him as a person, as a man, everything. They absolutely destroyed him. And me and my Black friend looked at each other and we just went, the man bad, the man bad. So we knew we was in the presence of somebody who knew what they was doing. And that was the first live Black comedian I saw was Rudy Liquid. And then it was years later that I kind of literally stumbled into the Black comedy scene. When I made that decision that I wanted to do comedy, I wanted to do stand-up comedy. And I became aware of it, obviously, because of The Real McCoy. That's when I first saw on TV UK Black comedians. And I was like, wow, they are Black comedians over here. And that was my first introduction to them. But I didn't see any Black live comedy shows until I made that journey into becoming a comedian. And then I became aware of like John Simmet, who from Upfront Comedy, who was at the time and probably still is one of the biggest comedy promoters in the UK. There was another comedy promoter, Marcus Simmons, and a guy called Bert Laurent, who on a Monday night, once a month on a Monday night, they had In the House comedy, which was at the Comedy Store. Now, that was a gig that everybody wanted to do. But you would only get on that gig if you had 20 minutes. You had to have a full set to get on that. They wasn't given no tryout spots, no open mics, none of that. You had to be established, or you had to be really good to get on that. And that was a gig that every new comic wanted to get on. Absolutely amazing, absolutely amazing. And then there was other people like Kwaku, the Prophet Kwaku, who had Comedy Slam he had, which was usually in South London and at Battersea Arts Centre. So you're talking about an audience of 400, 600.
Wow.
Yeah, man. And it was like, when you went to that show, it was just, because, you know, when you're used to like starting off as a comedian, you do the open mic circuit and you do like the main circuit. You know, even if you go to the Comedy Store, the most you've got in the Comedy Store is 400. You know, I think around about 400, 450 probably the capacity. But a lot of the other comedy clubs are, they're capacity-wise, you're touching 100 to 200, the biggest of them. So now when you're doing something like Battersea Arts Centre and you're in front of 400, 600 black people, wow, you feel like Jesus up there on Mount Sinai when it's going good.
Yeah.
When it's going bad, you feel like Jesus on the cross. It's like crucifixion, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh man. So it was lovely just discovering the same thing like yourself, discovering all these things. I mean, the comedy circuit now has moved on. So you know, we've got some bigger platforms now. We're talking like, you know, Alpo Stamina with Shepherd's Bush Empire, Broadway Theatre Catford, the O2 Indigo, which, you know, again, we're talking thousands. So yeah, you know, there's been some bigger platforms and venues along the journey. But I mean, I think that's one of the things that makes our scene so vibrant, and the reasons why a lot of our comedians who have honed their skills in the black comedy circuit are ready to perform anywhere in the world on any given platform, any given stage. We're good to go because of we've had our baptism by fire in the UK.
So it's fair to say that the black comics that we see now on TV or doing very well started in the black comedy scene, didn't they? That's where they really honed their craft before crossing over.
I would say the majority of them. Don't get me wrong. There's some who have just done the mainstream circuit and they've managed to progress to becoming quite regular names on TV. So if we look at somebody like Nathan Caton, for example, you may not see Nathan on any kind of black comedy show over the last 3 to 4 years. However, he very much started on the black comedy circuit and definitely got his confidence and his swagger from here before he kind of elevated on crossover. Ava Vidal would be another one I'd probably say. I'm not saying that they wasn't doing the white comedy circuit at the same time, but the black comedy circuit definitely kind of gave them that little kind of edge. Some people will disagree. It's just about personal opinions. But you know, when we look at somebody like Britain's Got Talent, the winners, not the winners, that those have done really well, like, you know, the Kojos, the Nabils.
It's really interesting. Sorry, I got to say this. It's really interesting because I had Nabil on the podcast, and it's really interesting that all the black acts who've been on Britain's Got Talent, we all believe that they won. We're saying, even though they were just finalists, it's just weird. It's just weird. It's weird. Yeah.
But you know, in our eyes, you get on that program, if you showcase yourself in that program and you get through again, you're a winner as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because there's so much what goes into altering your material, getting through all of the censorships and all of that nonsense, the red tape that you know, having to sit down and really kind of like say, why am I doing this? You know, why am I here with people who have just discovered talent, or people who have just on the beginning of their journey into saying, "Hey, I can sing. Hey, and I've been doing this for like 10 years plus."
And that's one of the things I was going to ask you, because a lot of those who've been on BGT, I'm sure they won't mind me saying, they've been going on for years. I mean, they've been honing their craft for well over 10 years, 10, 15 years. Why has it taken that long for black comics to showcase their talent in the mainstream?
Well, it's simple. It's the gatekeepers. That's all it is. It's the gatekeepers. There's been glass ceilings. There's a I shouldn't say a glass ceiling. There's a class ceiling when it comes to certain types of entertainment on TV, and that class ceiling has been there for a while. It's starting to.
You think it's shifting?
Yeah, and the reasons why it's shifting is because, you know, definitely from events what happened last year, we're in a changing world now, and a challenging world, I'd like to say. However, before that, you know, there's two things which have caused that glass ceiling to start to melt away, which is social media and digital media. So that's allowed people like Mo, Judy Love, you know, we've seen so many people who have through the power of their own social media and the fact that they can now use a phone or get access to a digital camera to record their talent and put it out there into the social media world for all to see and increase their fan base. It's allowed them to leapfrog any kind of stairways or gatekeepers into people's homes, and that's been the big thing that's created that big shift, I think.
And do you think in the future that gatekeepers will become less relevant?
Yeah, definitely. They will become less relevant. And what will happen is that, you know, we've started to see it already in advertising, that once upon a time, people who made adverts and did the marketing were of a certain type of background, a certain type of education, and they lived in a certain part of the country in a certain type of demographic and voted a certain type of way. So they made adverts which reflected what they saw and what they thought and their political persuasions. And they made sure that there were glass ceilings in place so that certain peoples and certain looks and types were not getting through. So I know 22 years ago when I started doing stand-up comedy, you was lucky if you saw a black person in an advert. Absolutely lucky. Whereas today, 2021, I'm looking at adverts and thinking, hold on, I'm looking to see, can I see an advert without a black person? And that's because the marketing executives have got younger, and they've been brought up on different cultures, and they've mixed with different types of people in different walks of life. Even if they've come from a privileged background, they don't necessarily hold the viewpoints of their parents, or definitely not of their grandparents. So they see the world completely different. And because of that, they're willing to be able to say, well, I want to show what I see in this world, but I'm not scared to add color, or, you know, whether the color be black or the color be red and yellow and pink and blue, orange and purple and green. I can see a rainbow, see a rainbow. You get the drift.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. But also,
so all colors
Yeah.
are represented.
Yeah. But also, I've always felt the difference between Britain and America is the fact that we also have Black people who are in the positions of power to make, apart from the white people who are younger, there are people who are Black people who are in positions of power who actually make those, you know, so it's not just about having people involved in comedy just on stage, but actually they're behind the scenes. They're the producers, they're the script writers, they're the ones who actually make the decisions in terms of who they're going to cast. That's where we need to be in Britain, isn't it?
100%. And, you know, there are some people who are making inroads into that. I know Sir Lenny Henry has been championing that for a while. There's some other great people like Jimmy Akambola, Fraser Ayers as well, and Chidi Akandulu with their Triforce productions. They're very much trying to get behind the scenes, get more people of color into the producing, the directing, production. So they're very much championing that at the moment, and they're doing a lot of hard work behind the scenes to challenge that. Again, you know, even through Lenny Henry's production company, Douglas Road, with Angela Ferreira down there, they are trying to initiate change, not just in front of the screen, but behind the screen as well. So there's lots of other organizations really trying to do that. And again, I think we've seen that with the appointment of June Sarpong in the diversity network.
Well, yeah, BBC, yeah.
Yeah. So, and these people have got some real bright ideas, and they're really trying to make change within the infrastructure of what we see as regards to entertainment. And to be honest with you, it's starting to happen.
Excellent.
Starting to happen, man.
Excellent. You also, for your sins, you're a comedy teacher.
Yeah.
You teach. I know you've taught so many. There's so many people that have been through your either your school or you've
The comedy school.
Comedy school. And how does it feel when you see a graduate of yours doing very well and you see them on TV, or you see them, how does it feel?
It's you know what, at first I think I was when I first started, I think like the ego kicks in. It's like, that's one of my former students. So you feel proud. It's almost like, if your child goes on to become, the F1 champion, you say to yourself, I did that. I created that.
Yeah.
But the reality is, my brother, that some people are destined to become stars in this thing. And I think that I'm just an integral part of their journey. And because I think with stand-up, the beginning bit is sometimes the most challenging. And if I can get somebody's head right in the beginning, then they stand a very good chance of succeeding in this. And I think that's I'm just one piece of many jigsaw puzzles on that person's journey to where they are now. I think people like Dane Baptiste, Judy Love, I can't make any claims with Mo at all.
Sarah Callahan?
Oh God. Sarah Callahan, Quincy, Marlon, Davis, there's loads of names. There's loads and loads and loads of names. But I think that, those people put in so much hard work that I cannot claim any credit for it. I was just, as I said, a piece in the puzzle. And I think it's important for people to understand that for me, it was a sense of duty, number one, that I've got all this knowledge. I've got the skills as a tutor. I've got the skills of somebody who's been studying personal development and how the mind works from since I was around about 14, bruv. I stand on that whole corporate experience of being the only person in my office who, apart from my senior managers, was on personal development. I'd put myself on courses, come back, and I'd share the knowledge with my other co-workers. So because I've got that, and again, I'm a trained tutor, qualified assessor. So I've got those skills already, because, a lot of people want to say that those who can't teach, I'm qualified to teach. Yeah. And I do as well. So I don't just do stand up. I put on shows. I promote comedy. I curate shows up and down the country and abroad as well. So I've done it all. Yeah. But I think that those people, it's their hard work that they've put into it, man, and they richly deserve all what they've got. And I'm proud of them now from a point of view where I've seen them on their journey proud, not that I'm responsible for that proud. You know what I mean? And yeah, man, it's a good feeling, and it's a wholesome feeling that I've got for these people, these individuals.
You're very humble, because I know some people who would say, that person, I trained her. I trained him. He was my graduate.
Yeah. It's a piece, because, like, what? There's one or two people who can make that claim with me, but the truth is that my experience within a workshop or whatever, if I'm being honest, as regards to like who I am as a comedian and who I am as a person, because I probably did around about 3 comedy courses: Rudy Liquid, Jefferson and Whitfield, Chris Head, oh gosh, man, Greg in America. I forgot his surname's gone out of my head. Wow. So I've done like 5 stand-up comedy workshops, and I might have done 1 or 2 others. Comedy school was a big impact, because that was the first one. A big impact, again, and just understanding that there's tools and techniques. And Rudy was a very, very, very passionate
Mm-hmm.
teacher. He
Mm-hmm.
loves comedy to the bone and
Mm-hmm.
everything. So that gave me the fundamentals.
Mm-hmm.
Jefferson and Whitfield, I met up with other people
Mm-hmm.
who became comedy brothers, and we did the journey together. A guy called Terry Myers.
Mm-hmm.
Greg Dean, again, gave me some real good golden nuggets. And again, he's just got a passion and a love for comedy unlike any other. Chris Head, again, just some different techniques. So everybody's giving me some good techniques.
Mm-hmm.
And some and just a little bit of a piece of puzzle, and just thinking, okay, I can try this from a different angle. But the main influence for me as who I am as a comedian and who I am as a person would be Tony Robbins.
Okay.
Tony Robbins changed this game for me, because there's stuff that I've got in my head that I've known from since I was a child, but I could never articulate it or explain it. And he was the first one that made me understand who I am and the reason why I think the way I think, and how I can use this to influence other people in a structured and logical way. So again, like the way how I teach comedy is, in some places, a little bit unorthodox in some places. And, probably what I was doing 14 years ago, I couldn't do now, because, listen,
The world has changed.
the world has changed. The world has changed. You know what I mean? Yeah, because I'd shake up some people. And I'm that kind of teacher where, even when I was teaching adults, I've locked adults into my classroom who wanted to leave and telling them, you ain't got no option.
That's very dictatorial. That's like a dictator.
Yeah, man, because that's what it is. When you come into my classroom, you leave your ego at the door, and you surrender yourself to me and my ways. And it is very egotistical, but that's about building the trust and surrendering yourself to this art form.
Yeah.
And on this journey. And and I think so for me, Tony Robbins is probably the biggest influencer in the way how I think and the way how I teach and who I am as a person. But those other 5 people I mentioned would say that, yes, Mr. C, that's my former comedy student. And they've played a little part in my journey, and so again, that's why I have to kind of be humble and say, like, even though, certain people, Dane Baptiste, blah, 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 they had this gift already, man, and they're born to do it. So I've just given them that little gentle push in certain areas, and just tightened up 1 or 2 of the many bolts what they've had, what have made them the great comedians they are.
Okay. Next question. Considering that you're a comedy teacher, you're a comedian, vast amounts of experience, you would have noticed that there are also comedians who, how do you feel when you see comedians who are self-taught, who haven't been to comedy school, natural, funny comedians just trying to find their way through the journey? How does that, how do you, because I'm sure you've seen so many of them, including myself, as an example.
Listen, my brother, this is how I look at it, is that, there's some people who can do things naturally. I mean, I knew that if there wasn't no comedy school, if there was no other workshops or anything, I was still doing this.
Yeah.
But the skills what I've picked up from that workshop have given me a much broader range of skills than probably some of those who are more naturally at doing it. However, those who are naturally doing it have honed in on what's good for them. And they've amplified that to a level of genius. So if we talk about somebody like Danny Slim Gray, for example, I don't think he's ever done a workshop. However, don't think that he hasn't studied the art.
Yeah,
he's put the hard work in.
Yeah,
you know, a lot of people feel that he just wakes up in the morning and just jumps on a stage. He doesn't, man. To consistently be as great, not as good, as great as what he demonstrates, he puts a lot of hard work into it. He doesn't take anything for granted. And that's where, where somebody may have, they understand the tools and the techniques, he's putting the hard work in. Kane Brown is another one. There's so many, like you said yourself, there's a lot of people who, because they haven't gone to either university, they haven't gone to, but they're still successful in what they do. I mean, look, if we take Richard Branson, for example, Richard Branson didn't go to university to become the entrepreneur that he is.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Boris Johnson went to university.
I actually said that Britain now needs to move away from all these Eton and Oxford graduates in terms of running the country. They need to go back to if they could possibly, but John Major, for example, he's not one of them. He didn't go to Eton or Oxford. Go back to Hackney, go back to inner city places. We'll run the country for them, but anyway, that's for another day. What would you like to see in 10 years' time in terms of the Black comedy scene?
Wow, 10 years' time.
Yeah.
I'd love to see literally what's happening now. I'd like to see a fair and even. All right, number one, what I'd love to see a Black UK comedy circuit. So even as much as like how, we had junglers with Chad clubs up and down the country, I'd like to see the Black equivalent to that. I think it's important. I think that our American counterparts have that. If you go to America, you can do the whole university scene. There's comedy clubs all over, the whole of America, and you can connect the dots and do the whole thing. I think we need to do that with the UK. I think that us as comedians, we need to find some way of pooling our money together and owning something. It's horrendous that I've been doing it 22 years. Slim's probably doing it 26 years. Richard Blackwood, 27, 28 years.
Wow.
Rudy Liquid probably coming into 30 years. Angela Lamar coming into 30 years or whatever.
Wow.
And collectively, we don't own anything as regards to a comedy club or a venue. It's ridiculous. We've paid so many fees to venues. We now need to start building our own.
What has stopped the pioneers from actually collaborating together to have a club, or just have somewhere permanent where people? I know there was, I think probably 2 years ago or so, Rudy tried to do something where all the Black comics come and test new material. What has stopped? What stopped people from doing that?
I think what's happened with our pioneers, what we've got to understand is that our pioneers, they embraced the first time where there was the glass ceiling was opened, and they went through the skylight, and they had Get Up, Stand Up, A-Force, Real McCoy, Blouse and Skirts, and then somebody didn't like what was happening, and they literally cemented the glass ceiling and didn't allow any of them to come through again. Because when you look at it, the likes of Curtis Walker, Angela Lamar, Leo Muhammad, Jeff Schumann, Richard Blackwood, probably an exception to the rule because Richard had his Channel 4 program, Rudy Liquid, Jefferson and Whitford, Jeff Amer, Marcus Powell, Felicity Ethnic, Gina Yashere, they all should be UK household names. Luella Gideon, they should all be, Roger D should be all household, Toju, household UK names. Because when we look at our American counterparts who was on that same kind of journey, they are household names. They've migrated from stand-up comedy to sitcoms, from sitcoms to films, from films to game shows. We've seen the Americans do it. You've seen Martin Lawrence, we've seen Steve Harvey, we've seen Chris Rock, we've seen Eddie Murphy, we've seen all of their comedians do that proper journey of an entertainer.
Acting as well.
When we look at our
acting in films, Hollywood films. Yeah.
We've seen them all go through that journey, but when we look at ours, Lenny Henry is probably the closest, and even still, we've seen Lenny Henry in probably 2 films, and that's Sir Lenny Henry.
That's a star.
2 films. He's got a knighthood to Ramscram, and still is like we don't see him in. You see what I mean? So it just goes to show the level of I can only put it down as wickedness and denial that these guys had to go through, you
Mm,
know. And I've heard the stories, man. I've heard the stories, not because they wasn't trying, they wasn't
mm,
working
mhm,
hard.
mhm, mhm,
They was on their craft, man.
mm,
You know, Gina Yashere, Rudy Liquid, Curtis Walker, the likes of, they were closing shows up and down the country for junglers.
mm,
So it's not like Middle England hadn't seen them
mm,
and didn't recognize that they were funny. It was this class ceiling which said
mm,
no blacks and no working class.
mm,
We're not going to elevate you. We don't want you. So yeah, it was difficult for them, man.
mm,
Really,
mm,
really difficult for them. And I
mm,
think that, you know, they had been denied a legacy
mm,
which would have created something really special for my generation
mm,
and the generation that came after me.
mm.
So we've missed out on like literally 3 generations of greatness in this country.
True. Yeah.
And we're just seeing now the 4th generation because of social media and
Yeah.
digital
Yeah.
media.
Mm,
They're showing how good and how great they are,
yeah.
but they're doing that from zero, bruv.
Yeah. 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 You
Have you
know,
catch my drift?
yeah, I got you. And all due respect to them, and I continue to wish them every success because I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure they will continue to grow. The other thing I've noticed as well is because I remember in order for you to make it as an actor, and
Mm-hmm.
especially as a black actor, you will have to go to the States to make it before you're recognized. And I'm seeing that you have black comics who are having to leave the UK to go and make it in the US. So Gina Yashere is one of
Mm-hmm.
them. There's
Mm-hmm.
someone else. I used to gig. She won't remember this. I gigged with her so
She
many
on
years ago.
Hughes, Miss
That's right.
London,
Yeah, Miss
Miss
London.
London.
Yeah, Miss London. We there was a time we saw Andy Osho, but she seems to have disappeared from the scene. But she did.
Mm-hmm.
All I remember, she appeared in Life of the Apollo.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's what needs to happen for a black comic, that person, in order to move? So because Dane Baptist is doing well, and I'm sure there will be a time when he will decide, damn, I can't speak for him, but
Mm-hmm.
there's going to be a time where he might hit the glass ceiling and just say, screw it, I'm going to the US, to explore and do bigger things. So the question really is, black comics going to the US to make it. That's what's happening now, isn't it?
I think, yeah. I mean, look, America's always shown the world that, yeah, we have our problems of race like
Mm,
anywhere else
mm,
in the Western society. However, what we will not do is deny people opportunities to
mm,
reach and fulfill their greatness.
mm, mm,
You know, if you can make some green, I don't care whether you're black, yellow, or blue. Let's make some green together.
mm, mm, mm,
And they've, to be honest with you, even through the wickedest of their racist system, they've always been like that.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
whereas over here, I think it's been a lot. It's been since the 60s, since the 70s. It's been a lot more covert,
Mm-hmm.
and then from the 80s, late 90s, from the late 90s upwards, it's literally they've tried to pretend like racism isn't a problem here
Mm,
and
mm,
that everything is fine.
mm,
But the truth is, the institutes have still been operating at the highest level.
mm,
So like, and again, that it goes right across entertainment. It's not just about with acting or with
mm,
comedy.
mm,
It's the
mm,
same with music. You
mm,
know, we look at somebody like Estelle, for
mm,
example.
mhm,
Well, Estelle used to do my show when
mm,
I first started doing Come Make We Laugh. So down at
mm,
Corks Wine Bar, Binney
mm,
Street.
mm,
So I used to have singers and poets as well as
mm,
comedians
mm,
perform. Estelle was good to go then.
mm,
So 22 years ago, when she sung, she was brilliant then.
mhm, mhm,
Floetry, who was doing their poetry, singing their unique style. What they did on their Floetry album, they was doing that live 22 years ago. They was doing that back then. So Estelle, boom. Was it Drake who saw her,
mhm,
brought her over, American Girl, rest is history. Flowetry. They went over America, did a few recordings over there. Philly, Grammy nominated. Rest is history. You see what I mean? So we're seeing this cycle and this pattern of our people going to America, and don't get me wrong, they're putting in the hard work. It's not that you just you step on the shore in America and then all of a sudden you're a star, because there's a lot of people who've gone to America and have had to come back with their tails between their legs.
Yeah, it's like
a lot of people.
It's almost like you saying, "Oh, I'm relocating back to Nigeria," and then it doesn't work, and you come back.
A lot of people, my friend. A lot of people.
Yeah.
But again, there's a lot of people who are making a decent and a damn decent living in America because it's just so much more fairer than over here. And again, there's more opportunities over there than over here at the moment. But again, I said, think things are starting to change. But we'll see how whether it's a fad or whether it's really a change that's going to be, it's going to materialize what we hope to see in the next 10 years time.
Yeah. No, this has been fantastic. I love the art of conversation. Every guest that I've invited on here, we do nothing less than 45 minutes. Not that it's planned to do less than 45 minutes, but this is great. I have one task for you.
Okay, sir.
It's an instruction, because if you don't do it, then you're in trouble. I would like to get Gina Yashere onto my podcast, and I know you've got her contact details. So it'd be good to have an interview with her, if it's at all possible. So I'm going to put you on the spot, that you will commit to that, or you will find a way.
Well, what I will say to you is that, sir, I think what you need to do is, I always think that words are very powerful.
Yes.
And a person's heart and soul, when it comes through with the words, it makes a big difference. So you send me a little video asking Gina Yashere in the manner that she should be asked, and I will make sure that video gets sent to her, and then we'll see what will happen. But I will let you know that I know she is very busy. If she can do it, if she can do it, she will. But she is extremely busy at the moment.
I know.
Extremely busy.
I know.
But I have no problem in sending that request in to her. Okay. And I will say a few words myself, my brother.
Okay, cool.
On top of that.
Cool. I wasn't planning to, but I just thought, why not? And I'm president. Listen, she should. Yeah. Go on.
My brother, if there's one thing what I've learned, probably around about 7 years ago, I had this realization. And the realization was, there was times where I was worrying, how can I do this? How can I do that? I haven't got this amount of resource. I haven't got this. I haven't got that. And I love stillness of the night. A while back, my average bedtime is between 2 and 4 in the morning. And people always say, why you go bed? So I said, you know what? I love the stillness of night. There's no interruptions. Anybody who's up at that time of night, they're not messaging my phone. They're in their deep thought. I mean, it's a lovely time to get work done. And for me, it's like, if I'm working between 2 and 4 in the morning, my work is done before you've even woken up at 6 or whatever time you're waking up. My work is done. And in that stillness, a voice said to me, all that you need, you've already got. You just need to ask. And sometimes, the simplest of things, man, we hold the power within ourselves, and we just have to ask. That's all it is. Ask a question and be prepared for either a yes or a no.
I wrote on my Facebook personal page yesterday that I won't say yesterday was a bad day, but everything I asked for was a no. You know, one of those days where, can you get me this? No. Can you get me this? No. And I said, the next day, I know it's going to be a yes. I just know it's going to be a yes. I can sense, God, that you are very philosophical in your approach. Does that translate into your comedy in any shape or form?
Oh, 100%. There's times in my comedy where I just want to be an ass and just do the stupidest of jokes. But there's times I want to challenge my audience's viewpoint of how they think. I want to play sometimes with the things which they believe about themselves and what they believe about the world, and challenge those beliefs. And, you know, everybody's got pillars, what they stand on as regards to their beliefs. And I think it's my duty sometimes as a comedian to sweep away your feet from underneath you. And when you land, how do you stand up? Once I've taken away those things which you believe in, and I've shown you now that this could possibly be nonsense, this could possibly be false. How do you stand back up? You know? And to be honest, this is something I used to always do as a young man before I started doing comedy. And I used to have great fun in doing it, and literally destroying somebody's personality. I used to love it. I revel in it.
Yeah.
Especially in my workplaces and, you know, social places. But then what I realize is that I've got a duty of care as well, with what I say to people and the reasons why I do things. So yeah, so even like, again, just saying, you know, asking, you know, just asking you'll receive. But again, it's about how you ask a question. You know, a lot of people pray, but how do you pray? You know, a lot of people, you see, like, I used to use the example of, you see, like, black people with business, it'd be like, I could have a good business idea, and I'd be like, oh boy, Obonjo, man, look, I've got a real good business idea, bruv, but you know what? I ain't got the money to do it. Could you kind of like lend me like $5 grand, bruv? And once my business is up and running, I'm gonna give it back to you, and you know, but I need $5 grand. And that's how a lot of black people ask for things. Yeah. Now, when me, as somebody comes to me with that, it's like, boy, $5 grand, you know, is a lot of money. But you see, it's the way how the question was asked. If that was Richard Branson or somebody who's an entrepreneur was asking, it would be different. It'd be like, President Obonjo, bruv, I've got to tell you about this exciting thing what I'm doing. Bruv, this thing here, let me show you my business plan. Let me show you the research that I've been doing, blah, blah, blah. Now, your initial investment, should really be $7 grand. But brother, because I know you, I'm going to give you an investment of $5. I'm going to make you have an investment of $5 grand, and this is going to be your growth. I'm still asking you for the $5 grand, but there's a difference in how I'm asking. And this is what I kind of want people to understand, that everything we do is about us and how we interact with other people. It's not about the other person, because a lot of people say, you know what, Obonjo's my friend, and I'm asking him to give me $5 grand, and now he ain't giving me the $5 grand for my business, and my business is falling because of him. Because I know because he's the president of the Laughter Republic, and I know he's got around about 50 million, but he don't want to give me $5 grand. You see how a black man is not helping black man? Right. So all of a sudden it's your fault. Yeah. But I'm not taking responsibility for the way how I've asked you, how I've put it together, how I've presented it. That's my responsibility. You know what I mean?
I got that. And I think for some people, the fear of rejection, you know, especially when it comes to asking people for money or financial help, or, you know, investing. You know, I know that for a fact, but the people get really afraid of, and feel very embarrassed by the fact that, you know, I asked Mr. C something and he said, no, he couldn't possibly do it, you know, but.
My brother, that's the thing, that's the key. We have to accept that with a question, yes or no, and accept it. The same energy, the same love. If somebody says yes to you, love. If somebody says no to you, love. You know what I mean? And once we accept that, once we understand these basic things in life, we don't have no problems, bro. You know what I mean? You're able to grow beards. Here can't grow.
So look, this has been really interesting, and thank you so much. If people want to find you, where can they find you? People listening, because this is going to be on YouTube, and it's also going to be, there's going to be an audio version. So where can people find you?
If people want to find me, you have to get in contact with MI5, MI6, and FBI, because I'm a ghost. You can't find me. You can't find me. I will find you.
I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want. If you're looking for Mr. C, well, I tell you from now, you can't find me. Because I've got a set of skills that I've acquired over a very long career. A career that makes me a nightmare for people like you.
Yeah.
Now, if you're a friend of Mr. Obonjo, you'll be able to find me as Mr. C Comedian on Instagram and Twitter.
Yeah.
But if you don't, I will look for you. I will find you. I will kill you with laughter.
And on that note, you can say he's talented. Look, thank you so much for joining me. This has been worth 1 hour, 15 minutes of my time. It's been valuable. Lots of information, education on Black comedy, and I've gotten to know you better as a person. And so bless up. That's one of the things I like you saying. Bless up. You leave a message. Bless up. So thank you so much, and I wish you well. And hopefully we will see each other in the comedy scene soon once the civilian prime minister allows us out.
Definitely, man. And I just want to say on a serious note, so yeah, it's at Mr. C Comedian on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook is C Styley. Websites will be launched later on this year, so it'll be mrc.com, of course, and entertainment.com. But also look out for, I'm going to be doing a comedy festival later on in this year as well. So yeah, man. So look out. And again, there's a wonderful charity that I'm involved with. It's called Equality is Legacy. I'll say it one more time. Equality is Legacy, where on the 9th of October, this is an exclusive I'm giving to President Obonjo. There's going to be an all-star charity football game.
Wow. And
it's going to be held at Stamford Bridge, and it's going to be an absolutely amazing thing. So these are some of the things which we are doing behind the scenes as well, people. So watch out for that. And a fantastic book called Consequences by a comedian called Peter Francis.
Yes.
So there you go. All exclusive.
Yeah? So he's been polite, and he's, I know it's happening. If you're listening to this, you have to be there. My people will find you if you don't come. So, Mr.
Definitely.
C, thank you so much. And
my pleasure.
I hope you've enjoyed it as much.
Say is salute to the president.
Thank you.
You're an outstanding diplomat, sir. I love your work. I love your legacy. I love what you're doing, and the way how you conduct yourself in uniform and out uniform is of the highest human behavior. And it's a pleasure knowing you. It's always a pleasure working with you. No matter how high I climb or how low I get, whenever you call, man, I'll always be on the other end, man.
Well, the Niger in me is telling me you are not going down, or you will always be up.
Come on, my brother. If I went down, I still shine brightly.
No, you are staying up in Jesus' name. Yeah. Continue to stay up.
Come on.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Taking elevator to success, my brother, together.
It is not your portion to go down.